Hello, good evening. Welcome to Connect Africa. Welcome, Sister Choice Ufuoma Okoro. So we are here today to talk about on the subject a protracted presence of international humanitarian in Africa and why, as an African, we should be worried about it, why we should be concerned about it. So, Sister Choice of Woma, welcome to Connect Africa.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Marlet. It's a privilege to be here. Thank you so much.
So what we are going to tell our viewers is that because this is going to be happening during the whole live streaming, we were supposed to start today at 7 o'clock Central European time or 9 o'clock Eastern African time, but somehow somebody is trying to silence us, and for some reason everything is working from our devices and we even change it, but still it's not working. So we know how the subject is sensitive and somebody is trying to silence us, but against all the odds we are here and we are going to make it work. The device from Sister Choice side, the audio is not working, so just bear with us as we do. I will use my phone as a mic when she speaks, so just understand that little technical part. And then we proceed like that. So Sister Choice is to say a little word about her. She's from Nigeria, but currently she's a head of UN-OCHA office in Pakistan. If I said that much, let me leave now for Sister Choice of Woma. I always like to add the African name, so forgive me if you find it strange calling two names at the same time. So welcome, Sister of Woma, and please, tell us briefly about your. So as we said, this technical part, just understand us. We take a little few seconds when I turn from her to me or from me to her, but no, thank you very much. Yeah, well said. I work for the UN, but I'm not for the UN. Yeah, you work at the UN, but not for the UN. The reason that we are um, the reason, yes. So the reason that
I work for an institution that's
So yeah, no, thank you very much. That was really a good one, a good introduction. So let's kick off the first question. I have to say how I know you is on the posts that you have posted on the social media, and I was reading it and for days, and I was like, I found it very interesting, and at the same time I was like, wow, what a sister, what an African sister. This is the brevity, the courage for you, to bring those truths, uh, uh, because we know how many people, our brothers and sisters, Africans, knowing what the UN is doing, but still who for whatever reason did not have the courage or whatever, to tell the truth. So now, speaking about those posts, you raised on the presence of the international organization or any international body without being checked for long in the country, how it's gonna cost the country, and it should be checked, and there should be, an exit plan. So most of us, I will tell you, I mean, frankly, we don't know. It just pop up, the international organization, one day they come and they open an office. We don't know the background, how all the advocacy things that have been done before that, the researches, the prediction about the country, why that country will need a humanitarian assistance. There are many things behind going on. So if you can enlighten us, how the international humanitarian organization becomes, I wouldn't say part of it, its existence, that how it come into a being in a country, in African country or any other country for that matter, and then why countries need, especially in Africa, an exit plan. So just walk us through that.
The ideology to the mandate of the UN, and it
Yeah, very interesting. Let me take you. You have worked in Ethiopia in UN OCHA office, right? Before you moved to Pakistan. So tell us, it would be interesting for us to hear your observation and also into to put it in perspective of statistics when we have that a certain international humanitarian organization for so long. Like you just clicked something in me when you said it's not coming for free, the food is not coming for free, they actually making rich their farmers over there, and then our own farmers are for some reason by it, call it by fertilizer or anything, they're out of the game. And even if they have excess production, nobody's going to buy them because the mission is to make the other part richer. So that's something. So I just wanted to emphasize that because it's like wow, now, yeah, why did you move to Pakistan? What was your observation of this international humanitarian presence in, because we have them for so long. I mean, ever since I know myself, I think there's international humanitarian. So like just take that experience and what made you to move, because I read something, the reason for you to move out of Ethiopia, and then what was your observation, give us a perspective of a figure, how much money is spent. Yeah, let me just, before I make it over you, mute myself. Okay, just let's I mean, it's people know already our problem. I think I fixed something. Can you try? I will make this thing like very low, my phone. Can we try the normal audio? Can you try?
So, can you hear me? Yeah! Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Ah,
yes,
it's
yes,
working.
people. So we have
Yeah!
sorry that we took so
We
long, but
made
now
it.
this is how it is
Thank you
supposed
so
to
much,
be.
Marlet. We made it.
No, I should have checked that. I think it's my problem. So
Oh,
the
no.
one thing that being live is people get to know the real part of it. So now you know what we have gone through for the past 1 hour, why we are late,
Yes.
and then at the same time, how we fixed it. You all are a witness how this went. So yeah, I hope you did not forget my question, right?
No, I didn't. I will go into it.
Okay, all right.
Ethiopia has been in my life. I started coming into Ethiopia almost about 16 years ago, before I actually was transferred to work in the country. I love Ethiopia. In fact, almost 30 years. Ethiopia is just, I have a love of Ethiopia that you can't imagine. And when I was appointed, I was recruited to head the strategic communication strategic communication unit for the United Nations humanitarian entity in Ethiopia. I jumped at it. I came, and it was in 2015 and around the El Nino, and I was impressed by how well Ethiopia handled it. And ensured that Ethiopians did not suffer from the El Nino. While I was there, through 2017, I saw Ethiopia do a political transition. I do not apologize for it. I am not into partisan politics. I am not into politics, but I can tell you this. I observed Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed process a transition in a political way. That man is just amazing. He achieved what a lot of others in Africa cannot. I think I'd say Abiy Ahmed, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, is not just a prime minister for Ethiopia, he's a prime minister for Africa. What should happen? He ensured peace, He addressed gender elements. He processed, the transition in a peaceful way that I've never seen. I've worked in many countries. I cannot tell you that I've never seen a man so dynamic, charismatic, effective, and willing to pursue peace. He did that. He pursued a regional a regional agenda. He focused on empowering Africa, the region, to work for itself. And I watched him. I was so excited. I promoted that, and I still do. He's an amazing man, amazing leader, one of the best we've had in Africa. But what I noticed while I was serving in Ethiopia is that Ethiopia has had a protracted international humanitarian presence for a long time. International humanitarian presence is critical for short term. Then you have an intervention. You see, when you have an emergency, we come, support you, maybe 3 months, 4 months, then we leave. Ethiopia had been appealing every year for international humanitarian assistance for the last 21 years. So you have a team of people trying to rationalize why they are there. So if a locust flies by, oh, it's a crisis. Anything that happens is a crisis. Because we international humanitarian workers must rationalize why they are in a place. So if you allow them to stay without asking for an exit strategy, they will find a crisis. So every little flood becomes a crisis. So this is what I've been trying to tell. So the issue at Ethiopia, I'm in Ethiopia right now on vacation because I visit Ethiopia on vacation. I will leave tomorrow. But Ethiopia is calm and peaceful. But if you hear about Ethiopia in the West, you will say there's a crisis. The crisis business is upholding institutions, is upholding salaries. The crisis right now for us is to make sure we do not allow protracted international humanitarian workers to sit in a country without a crisis. Because if you allow that, they will find one and create one, if need be. Because they have to rationalize why they are there. I have lived in every part of the world, the West, in Africa, the Middle East, in Southeast Asia. And I can tell you that there's no difference. The only difference is that in the West, in the media, Africa is supposed to be a beggar. It's a lie. And there are Africans too who think, oh, I got a job. And I said it's the Africans who believe that the whole international humanitarian crisis, the whole crisis of Africa, will raise fund, employs people, and they earn salaries. And I've told some of them, go sell cars, go do other things. But you cannot sell your own continent as in perpetual crisis to earn a salary. Mallet, look at the Democratic Republic of Congo. Why should that country be asking for international humanitarian assistance? Look at Nigeria, my country. Why should we? Because they're employees of a system, and it's a perverse economy and is driven by perverse incentive, and this is killing Africa because they are using the narrative of international humanitarian crisis, which is dominant in Africa. They are using that narrative to rate the economies of Africa. That's why we have to end it. When we have international humanitarian needs, yes, by all means, let us use it to save lives. But in Africa, it's being used wrongly. And that is what I'm challenging. Over.
Yeah, very interesting. You know, uh, because my next question was about actually how do you view, as much as there are researchers that has been, people have shed light on the work of international organizations. There is this guy I remember, like how many years ago I read that book, Lords of Poverty. He calls them
Oh
Graham.
yes, Graham's. Graham
Yeah,
something. His first name is Graham. I
Lords
read
of
that.
Poverty. He calls them. I really like that man, and I read a couple of other books from him, and he really, so he brought in each and every one in terms of statistics. That book was really rich in terms of data, and then articles here and there. And me as an Ethiopian also at this age, I have seen for the past 1 year how the international, and they work in terms, they're not alone. The organization is not alone. There's a government, there's a media, there's those who produce the so-called knowledge, their universities, and you have this media analysts also, like experts, and then there is the international organization who all of them together amplify, for that country will need in it's going to be in crisis, or it's in crisis, so we need intervention. Okay, so so I learned it now, like I witnessed in this, it's like history in the making. Like I can gather all those data, all those things happen in front of my eyes, and we can write a book or we can produce something. But there are countries also who sit and watch leaders, activists, intellectuals in the continent, but still, as you've just touched upon it, who are crying for the presence of the international humanitarian presence in their country. As we speak, Burkina Faso is doing it, and there are others who wants it, and also even there are people who come to you also. Why do you say this? Why do you say, people who work there come against it? So how do we get out of this vicious circle if there is not so much awakening? How do we get out of this? On what level we should work? On CSO level, it should be political level. What's your advice? What do you say?
Thank you, my dear. Simply put, the narrative around international humanitarian aid and assistance is a cop out. It's become a distraction today. It distracts from the fact that there's massive economic exploitation happening. It distracts from the fact that the sovereignty of certain countries, especially Africa, is being overwhelmed, is being undermined. The international humanitarian narrative, the mandate, is abused, is used. So it's the saying that we're coming to help you, so you must let us come in. If you want to come into Africa to save Africans when they have a crisis, then let Africans go to America to save America when they have Colorado fires. It's about justice. It's about not being blinded by what is happening. You know, I mean, it's why I come out and speak, and I'm employed in the system. I might be fired tomorrow. I don't care, because I have to work from a place of integrity. Why I do this mallet is this, if look at it, there's a double standard in the way things are named. Let me give you a very concrete example. When Joe Biden, when the Capitol Hill was attacked by Americans, it was treated as an insurrection. It was against the fundamental core of what America is. And those people were treated as criminals. Nobody told America to negotiate with those who attacked the Capitol Hill. They were treated as criminals. When people attack a military base in Africa, they are called non-state actors, and they ask African governments to negotiate. How can you negotiate with violent criminals? How can you provide security for your people when, as a government, as a leader, you are not allowed to enforce security for your people to pursue life and livelihood? It's the double standard. And they use the international humanitarian language, and they use human rights. The United States of America enforces the International Criminal Court. America is not It does not sign into it. So America is asking Africans to submit to a system they don't want to be part of.
Yeah,
Why do we accept it though? What
exactly.
frustrates me is that why are we comfortable with it? You know what, Malet? I hope I answered the question you asked. I'm passionate about this. Is that a lot of the people who can foster change are gainfully employed in the UN and international NGOs, making salaries. So nobody speaks anymore. I work with UN-OCHA. Every day I'm waiting for when the letter to fire me will come because I speak
God.
out. I'm thinking, bring it because I will do this in OCHA, outside OCHA, wherever. Because this is my passion. I'm a woman of faith. I believe I was called to do this. The injustice that is meted out on Africa in the name of international humanitarian assistance needs to end. Can you imagine that 14 African countries in December were paraded as begging for assistance? In Europe, it didn't happen in Africa, it was in Europe. Africans are begging. Nigeria, where I'm from, with the rich oil. All Nigeria has to do is to provide security to. I've been in the northeast of Nigeria where they told me, we don't want to stay in IDP camps. We don't want food aid. We are proud people. We just want security. I found the same in Africa. African leaders just enjoy, and when they hear, oh, we're raising international humanitarian appeals, 700 million or 1.5 billion, they think, oh, it's going to come to me. No, somebody needs to tell them, if no penny will come to them. It will come in food aid from the United States. It will pay farmers in the United States. But what this does, it undermines the economy. And Mallet, most of us have lived abroad. I've gone to Italy, around the world, and I'm thinking most Africans don't invest in challenging the systems in Africa because they think, I just want to get a visa to go abroad. Africans right now live worse abroad than they do in Africa.
Yeah.
I've been to Italy where Africans beg. Somebody should tell the world that Africans right now live worse in the West than they do in Africa. And Libya, I've been analyzing countries that are begging for international humanitarian assistance. Libya is one of them. And the reason Libya is one of them is because Libya is supporting Europe to ensure that Africans don't migrate to Europe. Libya keeps Africans away from in deplorable conditions, camps. But that is our story. And we have leaders who, I mean, I don't get it. I am working with the UN, and I'm saying that other UN staff, we can work with the UN and make the UN relevant for Africa. We don't have to sell out to a Western agenda to do our work. When the UN says choice, you are not following the neo-colonial agenda for the West, we fire you, then I will leave. Then I'll do it outside. But right now, I am the United Nations. And the United Nations says that we walk in dignity, live in dignity, and mandate must respect Africans and treat Africans equally as Europe. That is what I operate by until anybody in the UN tells me otherwise. So Ethiopia is not facing a war. It's a Western-led propaganda. I believe that. I was here last year for the New Year celebration. I'm here again this year. And I know I'm here. I travel the country. That war propaganda was driven by the Western agenda. And you know why? Because Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed focused on building regional solidarity. He's a Pan-Africanist. He did not go bow and lick the toes of Western people. That's why they want to punish him. He is a Pan-Africanist who wanted to hold up regional security. He conceded. He said, peace, come home. I want a home. And I am saying it for anybody. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, I don't know any as dynamic as he is. Because it's about time we put our mouth where our experience is. This is what I've experienced. I was in Ethiopia for 4 years. I watched Ethiopia transit, Ethiopia's political transition, and I witnessed The current Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed ensured that peace is at the core, gender equality, peace, regional harmony. He implemented everything else. So I don't understand why the Western obsession with presenting a narrative on Ethiopia that is a lie. I'm speaking from Ethiopia right now.
Yeah.
I'm a Nigerian with a Canadian citizenship too. I could be anywhere else in the world. I came to Ethiopia on vacation. I want the world to know this.
Very interesting. Preach, my sister. Some of you who see this video might think, okay, media is, I should be neutral. I'm a host. I don't have to say that. But no, this is a Pan-African media platform. Let me make it clear. It's a Pan-African media platform. We are here to discuss African issue about Africans, stories in Africa to be told by an Africans. And when we get those Pan-Africans, we will be with them, for them. No, there's no balance thing because others. This is exactly why we need a Pan-African media platform because the other side is not doing it for us. So we do it
Yes.
for ourselves.
Yes.
So if you see me going for Sister Choice Ufuoma and supporting her and saying preach, bring it on, this is a Pan-African media platform. So don't
And
expect
I'm grateful to you. Thank you, Malet. Yes. Yes.
thank you. Just to give a perspective, a figure perspective. I was just, before I talked to you, I was checking some facts on, currently people, no, not people, countries who need that humanitarian assistance in their country, in the world right now. There are about, I think, 38 countries, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like 274 million people are in need. But anyway, my point is half of them, out of 38, 19 of them are African states. And also, one thing that I was like, it says Ethiopia, all the Horn countries are there: Ethiopia, Somalia, South Sudan, and then it puts, I'm sure Eritrea is not there because Eritrea refuses, that man is a resistant. So they also put Horn of Africa. They have them separately. Okay, Ethiopia, South Sudan, and then a Horn region. Like, what's that supposed to mean? You know. Anyway, just to give, to bring some statistics into this. But quickly again, if you don't answer it, I really respect, whatever your decision is. But you have been, you have experienced it. You were sent, in a place, IDP place in Ethiopia, to bring a report. So based on that, they do what they are going to do. What was your observation, or would you rather no comment about it? I just, want to know. I either way, I respect your response. Back to you. Sister Choice, I think it's phrased.
I can't hear anything.
Oh, are you with us?
I'm back.
Oh my God.
Internet.
I have been talking and I think I have muted myself. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Are you back on? You can hear
Yeah.
me?
Now, yeah. So, did you hear my question before you
I
left?
did. I did.
Okay.
So I go on to it. Yes. Like I mentioned, when you have protracted international presence in the country, they have to rationalize their existence. You can't blame them. They have to. So it's those African countries who just allow international humanitarian presence to exist in the countries and they appeal for aid, international assistance every year. There was one situation that happened. 3 years ago, 3.5, it was like, oh, there's an IDP crisis in Ethiopia. And I was the head of a strategic communication unit. And I said, okay, I need compelling images to say that. I was sent to Mekele. When I was in Mekele, Abiy Ahmed was launching a stadium. I went to two IDP camps. I saw one, it was about 47 people, another was like 98. And the 47 were in a very posh, school that was about to be opened. I went there, and this time we have to hold Africans responsible who lie for their own jobs. I was with a Ugandan international humanitarian worker who said, oh, it's so terrible to see them here. I said, what's terrible about that? They lived, I saw where they lived. I've seen your kids. The kids I saw in these camps look healthier than yours. So, what exactly is miserable and terrible? If we give these people just maybe $2,000, for once they will be able to settle in a place and take care of their business in dignity. So, why promote a narrative of an IDP camp? I did not see 2.9 million people in Ethiopia displaced. Do you know that was the narrative 3 years ago? Today, where are they? It's like, oh, and I was told, I came back, I said, I'm not going to do it. I did not see any compelling image on which I could advocate and make a message that there are 2.9 million or 2.2 million IDPs in Ethiopia. This was in 2018 to 2019. I left shortly after, of course. Gladly, I moved to, I left, I came to Pakistan, where I love Pakistan. But that's what I mean. It's like you have institutions that have been established, international charity organizations that have been established. They employ a few Africans, and they need crisis to survive. And Africa has become a place for those crises. So when a locust flies by, there's a locust crisis. And what it does is it promotes this image of Africans as weak, just sitting down. Can you imagine saying you'd have locusts flying? Or there's a locust crisis. Nigerians or Ethiopians will now go and beg in Europe to take care of that. It's locusts, but you are so they've turned the men into children who sit down and just sit down with their family and beg. This is what international humanitarian assistance and the narrative have done for on Africa. I mean, how can a Congolese say that having Ebola in their community is a divine favor? Because while Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, is being looted, the people are suffering and they are stealing from the country. So right now, international NGOs, international humanitarian organizations have become strong employers in Africa. Why they steal from Africa? They come in there and Africans shut up and get their salaries. I think being a driver is a very important responsibility. It's very important, but a medical doctor is important too. Do you know, and I'm not demeaning anybody, the salary you earn, that salary has become a perverse incentive for people to lie. So when you have an international humanitarian organization going into a place, the hotels beef up the salary, it becomes above what is affordable for the locals. It's a bloated economy. And this is growing in Africa. Believe it, 25 years ago it wasn't so much, but it's become huge. It's growing, and nobody criticizes it. Like I said, the people who are critical are gainfully employed in these agencies. They employ them gainfully. They pay you large salaries, so you put your head down, and what you do is to make sure your donors from the West are happy with your implementation. So Mallet, that's it. Yes, the story around Makela, yeah, is true. I didn't see an IDP crisis. They were saying 2.2 or 2.9 million people display. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I said I'm not going to do any work and promote and raise funds for something I don't see. That is not evidence. The
Yeah.
assumption is that it's Ethiopia. You could just to say anything. I will finish on this, Mallet. Just before I left Ethiopia, we went to a donor who calls these people to say, to talk, we have this amount of money, this is what we're going to fund. One of the people at the meeting was a white man. He spoke in passion. He said, why are you funding only humanitarian issues? We need development issues. He said, 27 years ago, I was here as a younger man, walking around issues I'm back again. These issues are still the same. Why has nothing changed? I raised my sons on this context. I'm not comfortable with it. One on one, I can tell you in the meeting it happened, and the agency one on one, because I don't want to be specific about organizations, because it's a system wide issue. That's why I don't. Yeah, Ethiopia Ethiopia and Nigeria launched a Western-led presence using international humanitarian presence. When we had the Biafra War, they came. Then when you had the so-called famine, they came. And right now, it supported and promoted a huge industry of international humanitarian agencies and actors. And they need sources. They need crisis to survive. Africa is just the weaker link. So they come to Africa. They go to Ethiopia. They go to a village and they see a village that, they are looking for water. It becomes a humanitarian crisis. What they need is water. What they need is water. So this got to go. My passion, Mallet, is the abuse, international humanitarian action and presence in Africa and the global south has become a conveyor of neo-colonialism. And it is my commitment and passion to alert Africans to that danger and help it leave. And we want to keep and maintain the integrity of international humanitarian assistance for populations who need it. And they are all over the world. I want to be able to go to the United States right now and help the displaced from the Colorado fire. I want to do that. But there's no space to do that. Can you imagine Ethiopians giving visas to go help them? No. If it happened in Africa, they would be here by now. I want to. So that's my position.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. That should be clear. That brings us also, how this is not in a reciprocated way. Like they can say anytime, as you said, there is no water there. All you have to do is dig a well, and then give them water or bring them water from the river, whatever, and solve it permanently. No, but there's a crisis, and then they don't want to develop. That's interesting. But also, this is the way when you have a leader now, an awakened leader who understood the situation and the viciousness of this circle and wants to end, to bring an end to it, then he's pushed away or alienated, he or she, but mostly it's still a masculine word we have, so he's going to be alienated, he's going to be labeled as a dictator, he's going to, then they push you to turn your face to the other side of the world, whether it's west or east, you become and you become a dictator, and then they categorize you as such.
Yes.
It's all, one leads to the other, it doesn't stop there. And then they bring also not only humanitarian intervention, but also now they want to intervene, the intervention militarily. So it's all crazy, and sometimes it just blows a mind.
If I may come in, if I may come in, my dear, they have their agenda. We have to pursue ours. I mean, right now, I make my choices. My name is Choice. I'm choosing. To say what I know for a fact.
Yeah.
Nobody can tell me that Abiy Ahmed is not literally the best prime minister or leader in the world. He is. And I will say it, and I am willing to put my job on the line. And I believe the UN encourages us to speak the truth. So I work with the United Nations. It doesn't stop me from saying the truth. The United Nations is me. And what I'm saying now is the United Nations. Abiy Ahmed did everything any leader in the world. I want anybody to tell me what any other leader has done to promote peace in a political transition. I don't know of any. And I read a lot, I research. Abiy Ahmed did everything. He earned his Nobel Peace Prize and beyond. So if I don't say it, what happens? If I keep quiet and say, oh, who's going to say it? Because I need to get a salary, who's going to say it? And that's why I like what you're doing, Mallet Connect Africa. We have to speak up. We've been given an opportunity. There's a social media right now where we have to put our positions out there. Nobody's going to tell me how to be a United Nations worker. I am part of the United Nations. So I define by my integrity, by speaking the truth of what it means to be an effective United Nations presence in every country. And every country I go to, I put the well-being of that country beyond everything else. So that's why I can speak candidly that in Ethiopia, I served in Ethiopia for 4 years, and I know for a fact there was a huge international humanitarian presence that was looking for a reason to be there. They were looking for a reason to be there. It got to be one thing or they were searching. How do we justify it? Because Ethiopia is beautiful. It's a beautiful country. So you can say, oh, I'm in Africa, it's tough, but you're in a beautiful country. So you want to basically send out a message out there that there's a problem. That's why I'm here. That's what I'm telling Africa. Believe me, if you have international humanitarian presence in your country, they will justify a reason to be there. And the rationalization and justification is this. You have a natural disaster beyond the capacity of your government. And your government is complicit in the root cause of the crisis. So when Ethiopia had allowed for 20 more years a huge international presence in Ethiopia, they were basically saying every year that we do not have the capacity to handle natural disasters and our leaders are complicit, which is not true. I'm sure Ethiopia just thought, okay, we're going to get $700 million. They're not getting it. It's sorghum. They bring sorghum into Ethiopia. Even Ethiopians don't want sorghum. It's hard to cook. So there's no rationalization. There's no reason for Ethiopia to have allowed international humanitarian presence for over 22 years every year. Mm-hmm. They've got to find a reason to be there. Mm. While I was there, I worked very hard to make sure we celebrated the Ethiopia I saw when I arrived in Ethiopia in 2015. Advanced, developed, beautiful. I went to Gonda. I traveled the country. I fought as the head of the communication unit. I fought. It wasn't an easy battle. I had to leave. We discussed that, encouraged to leave, by 2019, 2020. I fought, but the issue there is that African countries, including Ethiopia, need to understand you will not be able to get out of the international humanitarian trap easily. You are damned if you do, damned if you don't. They will fight you, wrestle you down. But there are countries that have been able to do it. Kenya, for instance, was appealing for international humanitarian aid last year. It's not doing it this year. I'm serving in Pakistan, and it's my obligation. Any country I work in, I look at the capacity in those countries to address hazards. And when it's capable, I make sure they don't go and beg. It's not dignified for any country to go to Europe to beg. When there are crises in Europe, like in Canada, they had the issue, the flooding in Canada. They used the message, the narrative to build an identity for Canadians. We will survive, we will rise, we will be strong. We are Canadians. In Africa, they go beg. Oh, let's run to Europe. Beg us, we can't have. It's a shame. We didn't get independence to start begging Europe for aid. You know, so my sister Mallet, this is a passion for me. This can't go on. Any country I serve, I make sure that I assess the country. I look at it. If they have capacities to address any hazards, I promote it, I support it, I bring the UN to enhance it, to strengthen it, to raise it up. Because international humanitarian assistance and presence should be short term. It's not a dignified way of any country to be partnering with the UN. It shouldn't be long term. You know, and in Africa, it's been too long term. In Ethiopia, it's over 20 years. That's why they found a reason.
But if I may come in that, it's also because the country sometimes, not sometimes, most of the time, our leaders want that presence because some of the people in the party or in the government wants to loot that money together with the donors. There is such a thing. So they are accomplice, you call them, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's also the case, right? So that needs to be clear.
Yes. Oh, that's it. You know, that's it. I have stories, my dear Mallet. There are some who allow international humanitarian presence to exist because, oh, I could help your daughter and son get admission in Europe, in UK, in a school. I mean, it's that cheap. Then you bring the whole. What I'm saying is that Africa, most countries, the United States, is industrialized because it takes loans to build things. Africa, giving loans to Africa is worse, is terrible. The interest Africa pays is higher because Africa is high risk. Its economy is treated as junk. And you know the information that is used to rate Africa's lending privileges is the same information used in terms of international humanitarian aid. Crisis. I mean, look at this, Mallet. Do you know last year, the basis of a lot of international humanitarian funding request was on the potential crisis that would unfold in Africa with COVID. How can that be an issue? Africa is least affected by COVID, but the international humanitarian system managed to raise a lot of money for COVID in Africa. So it's just saying that Africa is just terrible. So whatever is going to happen in the world, let's turn Africa into a basket, into a charity.
And still, our leaders are saying that the Western governments is not being fair. Either that some of the money did not channel to Africa and they have used it for whatever they use it, or there's something wrong because we all see those leaders crying in the UN during the annual meeting that you are not treating us fair. We don't have the vaccine, we don't have this, we don't have that because of COVID. But whereas, as you are telling us now, there is a lot.
That's a shame. Any African, that's a shame. I work in Pakistan. And you know, Pakistan has done very well in addressing vaccine. You know, as a foreigner, as a diplomat in Pakistan, they invited me to get vaccinated. They treated me so well. Africans beg. The African leaders who beg because they think when they get this money, it has to stop. It's a lie. It's a lie.
Yeah.
It's a lie. Before, I can assure you, before even this, Af- let's look at, is it Angola? I may be wrong. I think I'm right. Botswana. Do you know Botswana wanted to pay more than the price that was being paid for vaccines in the West? They kicked Boko, but they said no. They pushed Botswana out. Botswana said, please bring vaccines. We will pay more than the UK, United States are going to pay. They kicked Botswana down the line. They did not take Botswana. Those Africans that are begging, they are the lie. Botswana had more money than the United States, than the UK, to ensure its peoples are vaccinated. The United States and the UK kicked Botswana down the line.
And then, okay, make clear something. They don't want those who don't have money and who are begging, and they also don't want the one who have money actually, who's willing to pay more money. So what should we
what
take
it
out?
is it's still, we don't use this word anymore, mallet, because it's like outdated. It's racism. Africa is a land of Black people, beautiful Black people, and all through history it's always been oppressed. That's why the language has continued. Africa right now, and I think the West is scared because the source of life is in this continent. That's why I'm in the continent. Africa is hot and beautiful, and I think there's a bit of fear that there's a lot of resistance and resilience in the African personality, and that threatens a lot of people. And the world operates in competition, and they've decided who is who in terms of levels, and they've focused on putting a continent of Black people, beautiful Black people, on the low level. That's why they use narrative messages to enforce that. If a lot of the news information that is shared about Africa is like the poorest continent in the world, the poorest, underdeveloped. I've lived in the West and I see the level of loneliness and depression. Nobody's going to tell me that Africa no way. I see the level of loneliness, frustration, depression that is unraveling in the West. But they still use those terms on Africa. And the problem, we accept it.
Yeah.
We accept it. So the reason why is that the world operates in competition. America, we know, United States of America, has the worst case of homeless people. I've been to LA, I've seen it in New York. They don't call it IDPs, internally displaced people. They call it homeless people. If it happened in Africa, it would be called an IDP crisis. But in the United States, it's called homeless people. But the United States of America is not defined by the thousands that are homeless in LA or New York. Why should we define Africa by that? So it's a competition, and I will say this, Mallet, when Gaddafi, when India gained independence, the leader there in the independent process was asked by the UK, Mahatma Gandhi was asked that, now you have your independence, you think India will now become like the United Kingdom? And he said this. He said it's taken the United Kingdom more than half of the world's resources to be where it is right now. So for India to get there, we would have to take the whole world resources. So we will take our time. For a country, so you ask why are they doing that? Yeah, it's a competition. It's a competition, sadly. It's protecting economies, protectionism for certain economies. It's always been there. Economies have always focused on protecting the source of their leverage. And I think ensuring Africa's leverage is managed to benefit some has always been the game. And I don't think we should accept it. What I'm saying is that we should not accept it. We should now start fighting, because migrating to the West is not doing it anymore. Many Africans think, oh, I'm just going to get a visa and get to the West. Africans are living horribly in Europe and North America. They are living worse in Europe and North America than they live in Africa. I see them. I went to Italy. I went there with my son and I saw Africans begging, Nigerians begging on the streets. I didn't see they live worse in Europe and North America than they do in Africa. That's why when I want to be treated as a queen, I come to the motherland. I come to Africa. Yeah.
Yeah, speak it, sis. No, really. Wow. Let me just take you back. I'm sure you have followed this. A Canadian investigative journalist came, who is really known for understanding the case of Ethiopia and who have done his own research. Who traveled back in August? He came. He traveled to Mekelle. He traveled to the Amhara region. No, I think Zamara was he allowed at that time to go to Mekelle? No, I don't think so. I think where the war was in Amhara region, and he saw that. He talked to some people. Just a second, I have to plug in my battery. Just a second.
Okay. Jay, Easy, you guys are here?
Yeah. So, and then he talked to some people in the UN, like IOM and others, maybe from OCHA as well. And he was talking to them off the record. And that device that he recorded them wasn't supposed to be out, but it was for his own information and research. That was stolen. Some people say mostly it's called leaked, but it was stolen actually deliberately at the airport. And the voices were released and those people were identified. And those poor African women who spoke to him on the basis of anonymity have been fired or forcibly, whatever, And now I see here my sister shedding light on what's happening. And it's everybody's question, I'm sure anyone who will see this video will ask, isn't she afraid? Isn't she working anymore for the UN? But you said clearly you are still working at the UN-OCHA office in Pakistan. Doesn't it get you sometimes when you come with those truths, when you write and you speak to me somehow, that you can receive anytime a letter of resignation is when you do it, so that you will be, don't you think you will be fired? You don't have that fear? Share us with us, because it's important. One other thing that I wanted to bring is also he's a white person, this Canadian investigative journalist, when he came to do this. But there were Ethiopian people, who were afraid to say what he saw. Those Ethiopian people who are working with that organization have seen what he has seen. Or actually, they have been working with them and they didn't have the courage, the bravery to do it. And here now we see you doing this. So,
Yes.
I know people, friends, Ethiopians who spoke
Mallet,
against the US.
Mallet, tell them I am the UN. I am the United Nations. The United Nations must be relevant for Africa. There are people who define the United Nations in their own way. But I am the United Nations. The United Nations came together to ensure peace, security for the world. I am the United Nations. I work with that mandate, not for people. I decided 3 years ago I don't want to be promoted. I don't care about those things. I want to make sure the UN is relevant and works for Africa, because that is the United Nations. I am the United Nations. And in terms of I watched it. I won't lie. I saw the image, the UN shame in Ethiopia, and I watched it, and I don't know if the person is fired or not. I don't know what the situation is, but I think I wish that she had spoken openly. I didn't like the fact that it was released anonymously. So, like, we need to speak up. I know of the person. I know one thing though. The head of IOM is a woman of integrity, brilliant, a
That's what
Pan-Africanist.
that's what she's
So I
very
am
good.
not surprised that she was fighting for Africa. She would fight for Ethiopia. And I hope that people will recognize that. She is an amazing, brilliant. She loves Ethiopia
Yeah.
and works for Ethiopia and worked hard. So we need to fight for her. Having said that, I think you've mentioned that I'm saying this. Yeah, I could get a letter tomorrow firing me, but that's okay because I have to live my life with integrity. If I find elements in a situation that is not real, I will fight for it. I am not able to maintain any agenda that does not uplift people. What I'm doing for Africa, I would do for Europe, I would do for the Middle East, I would do. Is integrity of the UN system. The UN has to be implemented in countries with integrity. There are people who are trying to co-opt it for neo-colonialism, for racism purposes, for different purposes. And for me, I'm the UN, and my role as the UN is to make sure the UN is not going to be used to abuse or promote neo-colonialism in Africa. I'm here as the UN to ensure it's not going to be abused to create conflict and fuel division in countries. And we ensure that Europe, North America will not use the UN to implement the agenda against the global south. So I am the UN, I'm the new UN who would ensure I will fight against any agendas from different regions. And I know the regions. So I'm the UN. So if they want to fire me, then they will say, this is not the UN we want. And if they fire me, they're saying that we don't want a UN that has integrity, that embraces all, that promotes equality, that ensures vulnerable population are not abused. Then I will do it outside the UN. I'll do it in or outside. So that's it, Marlet.
No, thank you. Um, so it's now your holidays time. You could have been, as you said, stayed in Canada, traveled in Europe or America or whatever, all those places that we Africans want to travel or our brothers and sisters want to go. But you chose to come to Ethiopia, where you worked before and where the country is right now depicted and characterized and whatever painted as the worst humanitarian crisis situation, the most insecure place. But you chose to be here, and I want you to address that, why you did that, to my brothers and sisters in Africa at home and in the diaspora, please.
My sister, I'm here in Ethiopia. It is beautiful. Do you know? I've spent 3 weeks in Canada, in Toronto, because I'm a global child. I work in an international organization. I have to get Airbnbs and hotels. I stay in hotels a lot. Do you know where I stayed in Canada? Toronto was awful. One towel, it was awful. I arrived in Ethiopia. Where I'm staying in Ethiopia, you won't believe it. It's beautiful. My experience in the last 6 weeks in Ethiopia has been better. I come to Ethiopia. I was in Ethiopia last year for the new year. I come to Ethiopia to get a spiritual upliftment because when I'm in Ethiopia, I find so much kindness. Ethiopians love. Ethiopians are so proud and Pan-Africanist, and that touches me. When my son was 7, I'm a single mother. I raised my son alone. And the way I bring my son to find strength, I bring him to Ethiopia. I started doing that 14 years ago. In 2015, we spent the new year in Nazareth in Ethiopia. Last year, I was in Ethiopia for the New Year. This year, I'm in Ethiopia for the New Year. And I come here because of the beauty, the kindness, the goodness. I've been to Mekele. I was in Mekele 3 years ago. I didn't see war. I've been around Ethiopia. I've been to Somali region. I came to Ethiopia and I'm having the blast. I'm having an amazing. The Western obsession with promoting the negative of Africa has to stop because it's depriving many people in the world from experiencing good life. Because I'm thinking, I know of a lot of Canadians, a lot of Americans in the UK who would have a blast if they were in Ethiopia now. Because it's beautiful, it's peaceful. Now, I don't understand. Yes, there are conflicts in the United States of America. Do you know in every year there's 1,000 victims of gunshot who die from being shot? America has a crisis of gun violence. On the average of 1,000 is killed by gun violence every year, and a huge population of that are blacks, you know. But people still struggle to go to America. So why would we buy into the global narrative? But America does not say that. America does not say don't come to the United States of America because there's gun violence and blacks are being killed. They go. It's like America is built on a myth and an aspiration. It's not been realized yet. You know what America, so Africa needs to start building the continent by its wishes and aspiration. You know, blessed, Africa is blessed with natural resources more than any other part in the world. We want to aspire and make sure that our narrative, the words we use, aspire to that because there's no part of the world that is healthy emotionally, physically, economically, and spiritually. Some of the countries in Europe that people look up to are embroiled in loneliness crisis. You'll be amazed and just in Africa, we don't have that. Africa, we don't have mental health issues. Mental health issues, including loneliness, and is raging in Europe, especially Europe. In those countries like Switzerland, Norway, Sweden, they are dealing. In fact, 2 years ago, the World Economic Forum focused on the loneliness crisis, and the crisis was focused on Europe. So the Africans who are going there are begging. I've seen them, and I look at them. I say, "Bro, sis, this is what you run to," you know. So no, we call it we call it we need to start saying the truth, Mallet. We say the truth, Mallet. We can't do this anymore. I've seen them. I've seen them. I've seen them.
I think I really would love to stay here and talk with you. Yeah. So, any last word that you would give our viewers, to especially, to Africans at home and in the diaspora, with regards to our topic, or anything that you want to leave them with the last word?
I want to say, Mallet, and thank you. And I think I have to thank you, Sister Mallet, because this is what will bring change. When you and I connect, when we hold each other up, and you can count on me to support what you're doing, because we have to put the word out. And thank you for your amazing network. Connect Africa is just inspirational, amazing. When you reached out to me, I said, yes, I'm African, proudly so. I'm a Pan-Africanist. And then what I want to leave this with is that Africa fought slavery, we fought colonialism, and the narratives and the images that fueled the enslavement of Africans and the colonization of Africans still exist. And they exist right now, and they are being conveyed through the narrative of international humanitarian words. And And that's my passion. I want us to watch it. I want us to focus on it, and I want Africans to start asking the countries that are begging for international humanitarian assistance. Nigeria is one of them. Burkina Faso, Libya, Ethiopia, many more. Those countries should ask what international humanitarian actors are doing in their country, and what it means for the economic survival and elevation of their countries, because it does pull your country down. If it's used in the wrong way, international humanitarian presence can pull your economies down. And that's what I want Africans to look at and check, and check. But Mahalet, thank you for giving me this platform. God bless you. And I will continue on this journey. And because Africa is the love, I love Africa. But Pan Africanist, and there's so much resources here, and I want the world to know it. I want the world to know that the narrative, the racist narrative of putting Africa down, is depriving the world of the most beautiful part of the world. Africa is the most beautiful part of the world. I know it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's a beautiful word. I almost don't want to add anything, but I always like to remind people, to invest on their children, to invest on our children, to teach them to be a Pan-African. I always say I meet people of my age, and according to my life expectancy in my own country, I lived more than half. I mean, God knows anyway how long, but I need to start to teach my children, to teach our siblings, to teach our nieces, our nephew. And then just imagine in 2-3 decades, Africa will just be fine. You want to be a Pan-African, or you describe yourself as a Pan-African, my people out there, please teach the children, teach the youth to be a Pan-African. It's not the school. We are entrapped in a system. The whole system is colonization or neocolonial, whatever name you give it. So you have to teach them at home or anywhere, invest on them. Otherwise, we find ourselves again and again with that mentality of, longing for the West, longing for everything white, longing for the northern part. Right now, we see that recently how the African map in the world map is actually presented. In actuality, it's bigger than any of those continents, but we are not. I'm sure maybe it could be the first time for us, but I'm sure our ancestors have known, or other Africans have known, and we keep quiet. We need to sacrifice. We need to be that change. We need to break this chain later, whether it's our salary we sacrifice, whether it's our life, whether whatever it is. Just think of your children. You want them to live like this in a modern slavery, in a way that they are going to worship everything that's white, everything that's north, everything from Europe. Then you don't break this chain. If we break the chains, then we are going to give freedom to our children. We can make sure we can die peacefully by breaking that chain and knowing in few decades, in a couple, maximum 3 decades, Africa will just be fine. Those children don't need anyone to teach them. So that's the word I always would like to leave the platform when I finish. And thank you very much. It's a blessing to have you. What a
you rock, Malek. You rock.
No. You do. If you're risking your job, you come out and you shine some truths, you shed some light. Who am I? I mean, I have this platform. So for what I am here, I should dig and hustle those people to have them here.
If fire me is okay. I'll continue. I don't care. My passion is the well-being of Africa. So if they want to fire me, they can do their thing.
Thank you very much. So, as an Ethiopian, I have to say thank you for being, stand in solidarity with Ethiopians. That means, I don't want to be emotional. Okay, I'm not going to. That means a lot, That means a lot. You could have been anywhere, That means a lot. So
please
I
fight.
just want
Count on
my
me.
people
Ethiopia
to
is a
do this.
gorgeous, beautiful country, and it's the capital of Africa.
Yeah.
Africans, come on board. We must make sure Ethiopia continues to rise. You
Yeah.
can count on me.
Thank you.
Amasagenalo. You
Thank
have
you. Thank you.
Ethiopia is a beautiful, powerful country, and is the core and capital of Africa. The well-being of Africa is connected to Ethiopia.
Yeah.
We'll make it work.
We have to, sister. We are sisters. We are not gonna stop here. We are going to chat and
Yeah.
discuss more things. Thank you very much for now. We say goodbye to our viewers. Thank you. And
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank
speak to you
you.
later. Bye.
Amasagenalo. Thank you.
Ciao. All right.
Bye.